What's up, guys? In today's video I'm going to be telling you guys a high-level overview of what a full year of playing Division I college football looks like in terms of the schedule and the different phases of each part of the year. So let's dive right in. Phase 1 is going to be your winter workouts. This will start the first week in January that you guys start school, most likely. Maybe the second week if you made a really long run in your bowl games or potentially the national championship. But usually it's going to start your first week in January and run till about March, the very beginning of March. And essentially during this time period, you're going to be focusing a lot on just pretty much lifting. So your lifts will usually run anywhere from 6 a.m. to around 8 or 9 a.m. You'll potentially have film and playbook study right after that. And then generally you're required to have classes from 12 p.m. To about whenever in the afternoon you can possibly schedule them. And then you're also usually required to have 8 hours of study table in per week if you're new to the team. That was at least the situation for me walking on at Ohio State. And I know a lot of other programs probably have some different schedules, but generally it's going to follow a pattern similar to this one. On top of that, you guys will have, besides the lifts every day, usually 1 day a week or 2 days a week, you might have mat drills, which are pretty competitive challenges they set up to make you guys compete against other players and really test your conditioning. Those are a really fun day, really hard. Definitely the hardest day of the week. You may have a team run, which is essentially where you guys will get together as a team rather than split into your position groups for lifting. And you guys will basically run through and do position drills and start to get your footwork ready for spring ball coming up.
Finish it! Got him!
Phase 2 is going to be spring ball. This is probably, in my opinion, the toughest part of the year. For a lot of my friends, it was the toughest part of the year. It might have just been because that was the first thing you experience of real football when you walk on, or if you're on the team just in general. And so during spring ball, depending on what week it is, usually you guys will have practice Tuesday and Thursday, and potentially on Saturdays, or you'll have practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then lifts on Tuesday, Thursday. Whatever day you don't practice, you're gonna have a lift during. And it follows the same schedule where you'll be lifting or practicing in the morning, and then you're gonna have your classes in the afternoon, and then study tables you'll fill in whenever you have the time after that. But generally you're gonna be there during a practice day from around 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., which that will include getting taped, eating breakfast, potentially even eating after your practice, so eating a quick lunch. It'll also involve film and pretty much the entire practice. So for those 6 hours, you're doing everything that you need to do for the day, and then you're free to go. On days that you're not practicing, you're gonna have a lift and follow pretty much the same schedule where you'll lift, do film, do playbook, and then you'll be able to go to your classes and your study tables on those other days. This is, like I said, it's a really tough time of the year because you're starting to get in pads again. You're actually playing football, and it's very physically demanding. And then on top of that, you have probably a pretty hard semester of school during the spring semester, because that's when you'll take most of your harder classes. And so overall, it's just a lot of rigorous work during this time period. Just be aware of that. Guys, so phase 3 is gonna be your summer training. This is gonna come right after spring ball. And like I said, spring ball lasts from about beginning of March till say mid to end April. Usually your last day of spring ball is the spring football game for your school. Ours always happens to be on my birthday, which is April 16th. So shout out to my birthday. And the summer training schedule is gonna run from around the end of April, beginning of May, till about mid-July. And this is where they slowly start to ramp things up on you secretly. And for us specifically, we had workouts in the morning. So I think it was the same schedule. So 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., something like that, since it was the summertime workouts. And then you do a little bit of film, playbook, study right after that. And then you would have class in the middle portion of the day. So from around like 10 a.m. to around 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. because at 3 p.m. you would usually come back on Mondays and you do your team run, which was a bunch of agility stations and starting to get you guys into better conditioning. And Tuesdays was the same schedule pretty much, lift, and then we didn't have a run on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, lift and a run classes. Thursdays were pretty tough. Thursdays were actually lift in the morning, you go to class, you do your playbook study and all that. Then you come back in the afternoon and you do team conditioning, which is different than a team run, because team conditioning means you're literally just going out there to run, gassers back and forth across the field. And that day is always really rough. And then Friday, you finish the week off with a nice hard leg day, and then you'll have class, and then you'll have the weekend off.
Hey, Tiger Hoods, where you at?
That's the general schedule for the summer training. Although as you dip later into the summer, it starts to slowly ramp up, like I said. So they'll start incorporating more team runs. But the team runs, when they describe them as a team run, it's usually meaning you basically go out there and you start to do many practices without footballs. So you're basically doing position drills and different things like that. And you might be potentially using basketballs as footballs just to, avoid any NCAA violations. But essentially you'll start to kind of practice on these team runs, and they'll start to ramp those up as you progress toward getting closer to camp time, which is around mid-July and early August. Phase 4 is going to go ahead and be camp time. So this is when things get really serious. You've been getting ramped up all summer for this. They've had the countdown in your weight room. Everybody knows camp's coming. And so this is where basically, I think ours was 3 weeks because we were doing one practice per day and then one half practice without pads per day. Changed the rules on us. But most people, it'll be 2 weeks of camp. That's your 2 weeks of two-a-days, which everyone loves to talk about in the football world. And so for us, we lived in a hotel down the street from our facility, and we were at the facility at 6 a.m. in the morning. Yes, a.m. in the morning. And then we were probably gone, I think, at 9 p.m. at night and back at the hotel. Then you wake up and you do it all over again for 2 weeks straight. So this is by far the most rigorous part of the year. It's extremely challenging. I remember me going through it. I had shin splints, dislocated shoulder, very mentally fatigued as well. So it's a pretty tough time. But if you get through that part, you're in pretty good shape because you're heading into the season, which is also extremely tough. But anyway, that's camp. There's really not much to tell you about the schedule other than you're just going to be there the entire day and you have no classes. Okay, so phase 5 is going to be the actual season. So if you're lucky enough to make it to this point, you've actually survived camp.
Play random, make it up.
Hey, it's a blessing to be a part of this team. First, I want to say thank you to Coach Shiano, Coach Stern for bringing me in and pushing me every day. Also want to say thank you to my safeties for all the stuff I've done. Yep. And go Bucks.
And usually only 105 people actually make camp. So if there's more than 105 people, if you're a walk-on, and you're not in that top 105 people, then you probably didn't make camp, which is, not a good thing, but some people might think it's not a bad thing. Either way, I made camp. It was brutal, but a really good time. I'd never trade it for the world. I learned a lot about stuff. During the season, the schedule becomes, you have class from around 8 a.m. to, I think they said scheduled from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. You show up at the facility around 12:30 or 1, and you're pretty much at the facility from around 1 till 8-ish p.m. And that's when you guys will do everything. So you'll eat there, you'll tape up, you have to do your daily weigh-ins, you have to do your daily hydration check. For us at least, we do peanut cup every day. And then you'll go and watch film with your coaches, plan for the practice, go out and practice, and then come back in and eat dinner. So that whole process is going to take you from around 1 to 8 p.m. Lifts will always be in the morning, so you usually have to wake up at back to 5, 6 a.m. grind because you usually lift before you go to class at 8 a.m. So that's the time that you'll lift. And then the schedule during the season, Mondays you actually have off. The only thing you have to do is lift and film in class, so that's considered off. And then Tuesdays, we call those Bloody Tuesdays because that's the first day of the week that you practice and you have pads on and it's pretty brutal. And so Tuesdays, normal schedule, lift in the morning, show up there around 1, leave at around 8. Wednesday follows the same schedule. Thursday follows the same schedule, but on Thursdays, you're only wearing like kind of half pads. You're not hitting as much on Thursdays because you're approaching the game on Saturday. Fridays, it's the same schedule, but in the afternoon, it's called Best Fridays of Football, is what we used to call it, at least at Ohio State. And basically, you show up, you do walkthroughs of everything, so it's the day before the game. They don't want to get anyone hurt, no one's going too crazy. If you're a walk-on, you actually had a really hard lift in the morning, so just FYI, if you weren't going to play in the game, you still had to lift really hard. Everyone else took it a little bit easy, and then you do your walkthroughs, a little bit of games, build some team camaraderie, go over all your plays again, and really get your mind prepared for the game on Saturday. And then Saturday, no matter what time the game is, it's usually a whole day event. You're just prepping for the game, getting ready for the game, doing everything you possibly can to make sure you're locked in and ready to go. And so game days were obviously really fun, really crazy. But then Sundays, you'd wake up after the game and you actually got a little bit of a break because you got to go in at 3 p.m. that day rather than at 1. But you actually still had practice on Sundays. So this is the day when we'd review the game, we'd go over what was good, what was bad, and then ultimately you'd have a practice and a quick lift, and then you'd get out and go home. That'll take you up through the season. Phase 6, the final phase of the season, that's going to be the postseason. So this is when you guys are past your conference championship and you probably have taken your final exams for class and you're done. So everybody's on winter break except for you. This will be considered postseason. And so during this time, you guys are either done with football or you're preparing for bowl games. And so for me, we went to the Cotton Bowl my last year that I was there, and a New Year's game. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we played on New Year's. But essentially, I remember us having practice on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So we were in Dallas. We missed Christmas completely. Still a really cool experience, a lot of fun stuff that happened there. Your schedule during this postseason is pretty much whenever they want it to be because you don't have class, so you're not restricted to certain times. But they definitely take advantage of that, and you're definitely going to practice and do your best at the bowl games. So the schedule is all over the place. It's pretty much lift, film, and practice. That's pretty much what you do, and eat a lot of food. Overall, that should wrap up the entire season. I hope that gives you guys sort of a better overview and look into the life of what it would look like from each phase that you go throughout the year of football. Because I know, like, when me and my friends would get there, they're like, oh, dude, like, I love just winter training because it's the easiest time you're not actually practicing. And some people would be like, oh, I love the summer. And then nobody would be like, oh, I love camp. So yeah, it was just really, really good experience. But overall, it's good to know these things just to gauge whether you could actually be able to, handle it or not. And also just to know what you're getting yourself into. Because I know for me, I kind of walked in just totally blind. Like, I remember when I walked out, I was like, yes, like I finally made the team. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait, like, so now what do I do? And then the whole season just kind of smacks you in the face. It's a really good experience. I implore all of you guys to, go after your dreams, try to walk on. But I hope this guy gives you guys some insight into, what it's like from each part of the season to, prepare for it. Actually, there is really no way to prepare for it, but it's still good to know and it feels good to know. So you guys are welcome. But anyway, I hope this video helped. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.